The Bible is the mark of the beast. Now here's a word that's not used much. Hierarchy. You don't hear that much, hierarchy, in the English language because it's kind of a secret. You see, it's a secret. You need to learn this word. Archy simply means to rule. Hierarchy. Hierarchy. It's a word that means to rule, the high rulers. All right, now, if you knew the rulers of the churches, it would amaze you. Just like the other day, the Pope found hundreds of millions of dollars in stashed bank accounts from the Catholic Church. They got more money than anybody. They got trillions of dollars. And they own things like Blue Shield, liquor stores, everything. So you need to check this out. When you're sitting in a pew of a church, you think, wow, my pastor loves me, you know, and you're going out and working every week, you see, but he's ruling. Now he'll take that money you give into the church, if it's Assemblies of God or the Baptist, and they'll take 10% of your money, and then he sends 10% to headquarters. See, that's the hierarchy. He sends 10% to the headquarters. All right. Now, when you see this happening, until you follow the money, you'll never understand the church that you belong to. You remember Jimmy Swaggart, he was Assemblies of God. Now, Assemblies of God give him a license. Well, when he got caught in his sex scandal, well, they took his license for 6 months or a year or something. And so, when Jimmy Swaggart was kicked out of the Assemblies of God church, do you know that he had $200 million in land and stuff around Baton Rouge? He owned so much stuff. You got to follow the money on these guys. Jimmy Swaggart down there one day, I knew some of the Assemblies of God people. Like Paul and Janet Kraut started CNN, they're worth $2 billion. Jimmy Swaggart wrote a check for $250,000. He bought 5 cars, I believe BMWs or something. Give one to his wife and his son, himself and friends or something. That's the way they do your money. It ain't nothing to them for them to spend $250,000. And you go out working all week and you give them $40 or $50 of your money, and they'll just write a $250,000 check for 5 cars one time. That amazed me. And so, like Joel Osteen's church the other day when they was robbed, had $600,000 in his church. He lives in a $10 million home. You got to check the hierarchy in all these people. Because if you don't follow, do you know the Catholic Church has paid out billions of dollars just for molesting little children? And that's ain't a drop in the bucket. In the truth, you see, there's a hierarchy here, rulers, like the Mormon church, they got 12 apostles in their church. Until you track that to the hierarchy, there's always one man to be there, the Pope or the Baptist church. They have a Baptist convention, and they'll vote in a president of the convention about once every 2 years or 4 years, I forget what it is, but they're the ones that writes up the check for missionaries and all this stuff. And so it's a hierarchy. They give it to their families and things. They're rich when they come out of there. I mean, you never hear this word. You never hear who rules the church. You never know where the money goes. When they file out income tax, like Jesse Jackson or any of them, Rainbow Coalition, they don't even have to put down what the money's spent for because they have freedom of religion, you see. And so that's the way they do. And they got so much money. Oral Roberts was down praying, send me $6 million or I'm going to die. And he lived in a $5 million house out there by Elvis in Palm Springs. So you see, these people, they are high rulers. They rule. And you never know it. You never realize who rules your church. It's ruled by flesh. Now notice this. People said that Peter was the first pope. Listen to this when he went to Cornelius' house. When Peter entered, Cornelius met him and fell at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. He was going to worship him. Now when the Pope, when he anoints these priests, you see, they ordained these priests to be, the new priest comes in before the Pope. You know what the Pope says? He says, will you be faithful to me? Will you be faithful? They said, yes, I'll be faithful to you. Now they're going to be faithful to the Pope. How about that? That's idolatry. That is idolatry. These people are idols. We set up men as idols. It's a type of idolatry. That's what that means, hierarchy. That's the archy means to rule. That's the highest rulers in the church. You know when the word archy came out? Or hierarchy came out? It came out in 1610. Ain't that strange? The Bible was authorized in 1611. So hierarchy, you need to check this when you go into a church. Follow the money. And that's what makes them rich. That's what makes them powerful. That's what makes them rulers. And if you ever been to a preacher's convention, oh Lord, it's like a zoo in there. They've got money. I mean, they're somebody, boy. They walk head and shoulders above you. And all of these scandals and things. Look at Jim and Tammy Baker on CNN. They were selling timeshares they didn't even have. So you got all kinds of things. You can track them down. And it's easy. Billy Graham, he found $23 million in his closet. They wondered where all of his spending money was. $23 million spending money. These people, they in high places, they're like kings and rulers. They don't do nothing but tell you about God. You're nothing to them. You listen to them. This is the hierarchy. They rule. Now here's Herod. I want you to read about Herod. You know, he's the one who had John the Baptist's head cut off, and I think he killed James. Well, God didn't like him. He's looking for an excuse to get him. And so the people gave a shout. He dressed up in his highest garb, you know, and he went out to make a big speech before the people. And they said, it's the voice of a God and not of a man. And so he made himself like a God. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory. And he was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost. So you see, now how can one Holy Ghost person be over another Holy Ghost person? That's not the way it is in our kingdom. The strong in our kingdom helps the weak. We're all equal. We're one. But in the hierarchy, they're not. They're over you. That means rule. High rule. They rule over you. So make sure who you worship with has the Holy Ghost, and you're saying you're one with Him. See, Jesus is the vine. Now we can worship Him. His life comes from Him. But all the little grapes are alike. See, Oral Roberts ain't no different. I worked with him. He's a big crook. And I'm not a crook, but he was a crook. And I watched him. And so these hierarchy people are crooks, because they try to rule you, tell you what to do. And they rule the church. And they rule, how do you say, an abundance of people. And they take their money. And they're Satan anointed. And you've got to learn this. When you go to these churches, that's what's in there. The hierarchy. They rule. They call them up to Washington and talk to them, because they don't talk to you, because they rule you. What they say, you do. That's your rulers. And that's the hierarchy in the Baptists, the Assemblies of God, Catholics, all the Pentecostals. It don't matter if it's Unity or who it is. They've got a commission board sitting up there, and them churches all send them 10%. They make a mission fees. They give the money to their families or whoever, political people. All these politicians come to them churches. They know who to go to. They go to the hierarchy, and they give them the money. See, the Pope just helped get this thing settled with Cuba. That's how much power they got. Pope's got a lot of money. And he goes and tells Obama, let's get this thing straightened up with Cuba. And they'll straighten it up. That's what brought down the Berlin Wall and things like that. Hierarchy. You don't even know about it. Learn about it. Because they're your rulers. And they rule in these big old churches and things. So don't let them fool you. Follow the money. And then remember the word hierarchy. Because I tell on them. I tell the truth on all these scandals. And so this is what it is in the churches today. The Bible's an idol, and they use that to control you with and take your money, and they're like gods that sets up in these big old churches and rules the people. Thank you, Jesus, for the truth.